You're listening to 15 Minutes of TM1 with, brought to you by CubeWise, managing complexity in the business world.
Welcome to another session of 15 Minutes of TM1. Today I've got my friend, Chris Yate, who has been a key part of the organizing the 2023 London User Conference for TM1 in Planning Analytics. Welcome, Chris.
Thank you, man. You're too kind.
Good to see you.
It was a good day yesterday.
It was a great day yesterday. So this is the second day in the TM1 User Conference here in London. And so it's my mission to get more stories of TM1 out there to the people because I love the tool. I don't know about you, Chris. I would say you love the tool as well.
I think I love the tool.
And a lot of people still don't know what we do. So we want to get the message out there for the people who are thinking about a new and better tool, perhaps, to improve their processes. But also, just to share their passion, because you love something, you want other people to know about it. And somehow, it's incredibly difficult to explain what TM1 is sometimes.
Right, yeah.
It's very circumstantial. So we hope to produce more material for people to digest over time and build a bit of a TM1 community in this channel. Right, okay, so first up, do you have any other introductions for yourself that people should know about so they know who they're listening to? Because I know you.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm Chris Yate. I'm the Business Development Manager here at CubeWise in the UK. I've been at CubeWise now for almost 5 years. It's flown by. But yeah, I've been working with TM1 for just over 10 years.
Just 10 years. All right, okay. Just 10 years.
Just 10 years.
Yeah, just like that. So how did you get started into the world of TM1? Was it purely by chance? Like, what's your story?
So there's two parts to that story.
Okay, all right.
So one is when I finished my A-levels, so I was 18, I went to work in a finance department as a accounts assistant, very junior level role. And my role at that time was to take the data from some of the exported reports that are coming out of the system, type the data into a spreadsheet, press a button, and it went somewhere that the junior accounts assistant didn't need to know where it went. It turns out, years later, I realised that was TM1.
Oh.
Yeah. And the way they were actually using the action button to then run the process to load the data in. But at the time, they were just like, number here, press button. Right, I was 18 years old.
Oh, so, wow!
Yeah, kind of that first junior role, first finance role. Right. So, yeah, I guess in that regard, you could almost say I've been using TM1 for my whole career. But there was a gap in the middle up until 2012 when I joined a company as an assistant accountant. I guess at that time, and from 2008 through to 2012. The intention was to be an accountant. So I had done my AAT exams. I was starting on my journey for SEMA, and was very, very much in the finance world. Right? So I joined a company, and I came in again as an assistant accountant, helping with the month-end reporting. And really, that's where I saw TM1 being utilised to its full potential.
And what was that?
So I think the key thing for me was the way in which they were using the Excel reports at the time for their management accounting, their monthly reporting. Mm-hmm. Just the fact that we could have a report that you would just drop down, change the line of business, refresh the report, immediately return the latest data. For me was like, wow, right? And I guess up until that point, I'd been kind of using VBA quite extensively, and so that kind of the concept of kind of having a more automated or more kind of code-centric Excel environment was natural to me. But then to see that it just did it, I was like, what is this wizardry? So obviously then I kind of started to get a bit more of a deep dive and really started to grasp the concept of the DVRWs, then started to kind of utilize active forms, which for me, it's one thing just to have a dump out of TM1 or a dump of data into Excel, but to have the ability to drill up and down your consolidations, for me was like super cool, right? And I was just like, it's sometimes, particularly now, having spent, let's say, 10 years or so working with the product, you take that for granted. Right?
That's true.
The ability and in any user interface, whether it be Parfait or Workspace or UX, whatever, Arc, whichever one you're using, you take the fact that you can just drill up and down these consolidations for granted, and you shouldn't take it for granted.
No, because a lot of things still can't do
Right.
it. But can I go back into your case? So when you found this magic of being able to do everything in Excel, you add a line, drop down a different division, and you get it working. Sorry, I forgot your exact example. What did you compare that with? Because you must have used something else before you came back to TM1.
Right, yeah. So, it was the company I was at previously had a similar month-end process of cycling through the reports, right? But again, I was writing it in VBA. Okay. So it would be refresh. They'd have like a data dump, and then I'd be using VBA to refresh a report that was on the front, or in another file, and then someone's changed the version, and you have all the problems that are associated with that, right? So, that's where we kind of had gone to more of that VBA route. But then just to see, well, it has that live real-time connection to the data, for me was really powerful. And I had the opportunity whilst at that company to work on an implementation for an employee forecasting model.
Okay.
So at that time I'd moved from kind of the month-end reporting team more into the expenses team.
Okay.
And we were looking to expand the implementation of TM1 at the company. They needed an SME within the expenses team to help work with the developers. And that was the first time that I saw under the hood. And everyone talks about that light bulb moment, right? And that for me was my light bulb moment. I'd seen the UI side of things and what I could do from an end user perspective, but then to see how that worked in the background just was like, yes. This is what I want to do now.
Okay, so your yes moment, was it when you looked at rules, feeders, or TI? Like what specific part under the hood?
Yeah, I think so. So
you?
TI certainly, and I think the transition, from that kind of VBA where I'd worked before, the transition into TI was logical.
Right.
So that was one part of it, and then I think the speed at which it was calculating when I was the TI, right? Because
it's incredible.
Yeah, it's incredible. And then seeing the real-time calculations that came with the rules was like, okay, so not only do I kind of have almost a sausage machine of a TI, right, where you put data in, you churn it, you get something out. Yeah. That's kind of the TI, but the rules is just like bang.
It's magic.
For me, I was just like, I knew at that point that's what I wanted to do. So I finished my accounting exams. And at that time also transitioned into a internal kind of systems developer, system administrator at that company.
And was it just TM1 or was it like a mixture of different
Just
tools?
TM1.
Oh, wow, okay.
So, my role, that we had the wider finance systems team had greater responsibilities, but for me the focus was TM1 at that point.
So how many people were you supporting at that time?
So at that time the finance department, there would have been about 75 to 100 users.
Okay, all right.
And it was the BAU monthly kind of processes, but also the building out of future developments. Expense allocations was something that was one of the early things that I built as an example. So from there, as I say, that I knew that's what I wanted to do. So I got to a point when I was like, I think I want to work for a consulting company, and then decided, well, first I need to see TM1 somewhere else because I know it inside out here, but what if it's just that's all I'm going to know, right? And so I went to another company, and then I realised that the underlying principles of TM1 mean that you can apply it to almost any business application, business problem, right?
Absolutely.
It's not just your financial reporting or financial planning or your expense forecasting like we saw yesterday. There's you can do stuff with supply chain management or whatever, right? So I think being able to see that in a totally new environment, but I still had the comfort of, because everyone knows what it's like when you change roles, right? And there's all the unknown. The unknown was still there, but I had a comfort blanket, which was
TM1. So TM1 was your comfort blanket when you start branching out.
Yeah.
Oh, that's fascinating.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, you made a very good point. I think TM1's the ultimate business problem-solving tool that I guess people don't, let's say they haven't discovered it yet.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people, maybe like in your previous mindset, you've only seen this environment.
Yeah.
I know it can do expense planning.
Yeah.
I know it runs a P&L,
Yeah.
but what else does it do? Does it do anything else? Because the other software out there in the marketplace, especially we're talking about, I don't know, a few years back or 10 years back, a lot of software built for one purpose, so they can't really swing any other way.
Right.
Or if they could, there would be a lot of workarounds and
Yeah.
add-ons, specialists.
Well, it's not designed to do that, but
Exactly.
whatever.
Yeah. So that's an interesting point. Okay. All right. And then did your journey end there of discovery? TM1 discovery journey end there? Like you got to a new company now?
Yeah. So I'm at a new company. I guess again working on the kind of the BAU and development for that company. But I think actually, that I was still very much kind of still learning TM1. I mean, I think it's fair to say we're all still learning TM1.
Oh, definitely.
Right? I don't think there's anyone at CubeWise or indeed in the world that would do. Well, maybe Hubert. maybe he's allowed. But yeah, we're all still learning TM1, right? And so I say went from company A to company B. Spent some time there. We're doing some development there, and then it was at that point then decided I wanted to get that new kind of that new experience with TM1, having that comfort blanket of TM1 and knowing the product and saying, right, how many other business problems can I solve?
Oh, that's beautiful.
For other clients, right? And I think that for me was then why I wanted to join CubeWise. And it's kind of gone a little bit kind of further on from that still, is that when I joined CubeWise, I was doing the consulting, so I was implementing the problems, and now I've moved more into the business development side of things. It's really showcasing what TM1 can do in so many different ways, right? Because you look at a standard week could be, we're talking about workspace, or we're talking about slice or applique UX, or someone needs pulse or whatever, right? And
lots of different
so
type
many,
of
so
problems.
many different options,
Yeah.
and so many different options that will solve so many different business problems.
Right. Yes.
But all with TM1 underneath it. So, and now here I am sat with you today, John.
Yeah. So there's one thing you mentioned I want to dig a little bit deeper, which is you said, we're always learning. Or, personally, I totally agree with you.
Yeah.
But for the people who might be watching, why do you think that is that everyone still are learning about TM1? Because, people are doing SQL stuff, not to undermine SQL or data warehouse type of activity, but you learn SQL once, you learn SQL.
Yeah.
Now, in this case, why do you think everyone keeps on learning about TM1 like this?
Yeah, I think
non-stop?
so. I think the application of TM1 is maybe where the kind of learning really comes in, right? That the syntax doesn't change, as you say. So like you know the syntax, but it's how can I use that syntax to solve this particular problem? How can I use it to solve this particular problem?
Yeah, okay. So you're saying the non-stop element of learning TM1 here is because TM1 by itself is just a tool, but when you use TM1 anywhere is to solve business problems, and business problems never ending. They're always changing.
Yep.
Especially in this climate today,
Yeah.
always changing. So in fact, we'll always be learning. Oh, that was nicely put.
Yeah.
Okay, now, so we have learned about your journey into TM1. Since you've used it for quite a while now, how do you personally see the future of TM1? Right?
Yeah.
Don't give me the standard marketing, but like, how do you see? How do you see the future?
I think if I was to summarize it, I would say long. Is that okay?
Elaborate.
Sure. And I think that what I've seen certainly in the 10 years that I've been using TM1 is that there's always something in the market. Right? There's always this product A, product B is going to change your world, whatever. And TM1 has been around for 40 years, right? TM1 is older than me. It's been around for a very long time. And in a world of technology, that's huge, right? If you think of the advancements of the internet, or how different our laptops are to what they were 40 years, or computers 40 years ago, TVs. Remember the big TVs with the
Oh,
huge
yeah,
backs, and
yeah.
now we've got the slimline TVs, right? Technology is like such a fast-pacing industry, a fast-moving industry, but TM1's still there. And I think so. For me, it's things will come and go, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I genuinely believe that TM1 will remain. So we'll have a long future, and I think particularly with the focus from an IBM perspective in more recent years, better than others. Sorry, IBM. I'm saying that in their building as well. That's for me. But, but yeah, I think it's getting the attention that it deserves, and I think we will continue to see TM1 solving business problems for many years to come.
I like that. I like that a lot. I personally totally agree with that.
That's good.
For the people who's watching, they will hear me say that a lot. Yeah. So apologies for that.
Yeah. Should we cut and have an argument?
Yeah, probably. Well, yeah, because it's so elegant and how it solves these problems and how it does exactly what it's set out to do. Work with numbers extremely well.
Yep.
And yeah, it's kind of like the wheel, I guess.
Yeah, and I think the key thing is that there's TM1 in itself is a tool, right? And just like let's say the tools you may use to try and fix a car or build a car, right? If you use those tools incorrectly, the car isn't going to perform as well as it should, right? And I think I've seen anti-TM1 or people say, "Oh, TM1 can't solve it." No. Like, TM1 can. And unfortunately, you see over the years that people have experience of bad implementations, which is why I quite like the role that I'm in now. And it's like, it doesn't have to be that way.
No, absolutely.
It doesn't have to be that way. And so showing people like this is what it can do. And one of my favorite things through the process of speaking to our existing clients or new clients is, let me show you. Yeah, you've got a problem. Let me build it. It gets the consulting back in me. Yeah, lets me actually do some coding. But yeah, to just say, let me show you. And I think that's where the real people really start having their light bulb moments, right? When they see their data and their data structures, and whether it be, whether it be workspace or whatever user interface, even if it's just you're using Pathé, right? Excel-based reports that, as I was 10 years ago, right? That's still huge for finance departments,
Absolutely,
right?
yeah.
So I think that's the thing for me is TM1 can do it.
They can.
Yeah.
And funny you mention that that particular point when someone tells you they've got a business problem or they're saying, "Oh, TM1 can't do it, but let me show you. Let me prove it to you." It's interesting at that point when you would say something like that to maybe a procurement team or an IT manager who is just used to seeing a standard demo. Because that's how the industry is. Yeah?
Yep.
A very standard demo. They're not used to you being able to build something.
Yeah.
What
do you mean the sales guy can code?
well, there's that. But how hard is it for some applications to really work with your business problems, the complexity and the granularity that you actually need to solve the problem at, not at top line level. Anyone can do that.
Yeah.
But when you get it down to granularity, that's tough.
Yeah.
And when you tell them, "Hey, let me show you," my experience is they've been taken aback and they don't know how to process that. Like, are you trying to play a Jedi mind trick on me?
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
What do you mean? It's not possible. But anyway, that's a story for another time. Okay, so thank you for sharing all of that. Now, it's a new thing that I'm trying to do because this whole segment is new. Trying to get the more TM1 stories out there. I would like to try something, which is, do you have a question for me to ask the next person that I'll interview? Of course, TM1 related.
Oh. Well, in which case, no. Yeah, I think what my question would be is, where have you seen hierarchies being used to their full potential?
Oh, okay. Where have you seen hierarchies being used to their full potential?
Yep.
Okay, all right. I like
Tough one.
Oh, that's a tough one. Yeah.
I'm glad I'm not after me.
Unless we do this interview again. Yeah. Okay. Well, that's good. All right. So I'm going to take that, and then so last thing, we end our segments now. I'm trying to do something fun because people get a bit bogged down by technicality and just listening to business applications.
Yeah.
So I try to do something like a rapid fire. Okay. So anything that comes to your mind, if you're up for it,
Yeah,
I'm going to launch some rapid fire.
Okay.
All right. So let's start off easy. What's your favorite color?
Blue.
What's your favorite number?
7.
Favorite function key?
Shift.
Favorite software?
TM1.
Favorite feature in TM1?
The TI.
Favorite rule in TM1?
Favorite rule.
Who's going to be rapid?
It's not that rapid, is it? Favorite
Rapid
rule.
is not a function. Not a rule.
So, it's not a rule itself, skip check.
Oh, nice. TM1 Web?
Has its place.
TM1 Workspace?
Has its space.
TM1 Pi?
Has its place.
TM1 Horizon?
Answers, aren't they? Horizon. A great way to understand what the world is doing with TM1.
That concludes our chat. Thank you, Chris.
Thank you, man.
You've been wonderful.
Thank you for having me.
And thanks for being the first person that talked to me here in London. So there you have it. You've heard it here first.
You've just listened to 15 Minutes of TM1 with, brought to you by CubeWise, managing complexity in the business world.